Hi, I'm Gene Simmons, and you're not. And you're tuned into Rock Cellar TV. But you knew that.
Rock Salad TV. 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 Rock Salad TV.
Both of these were hand drawn when we were nobody and just had big dreams on the streets of New York, and we launched a new band called Kiss. This one over here is done by the powerful and attractive Gene Simmons, and this one was done by the powerful and attractive Paul Stanley. So, since this was the beginning, before we actually got our start, when we had big dreams and wanted to put together the band we never saw on stage, I suppose this has more sentimental value than the other stuff.
So, what was the first record you bought with your own money? The first album and single. Which artist was it? What was the song? What was the album?
I remember buying a Chubby Checker, Twistin' Round the World. The twist was very, very big, and it was a very famous dance based around a Chubby Checker song called The Twist, which I later found out was originally recorded by Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, and sounds exactly like Chubby Checker. Chubby Checker took all his stuff from Hank Ballard, who originally recorded and wrote the song, but I didn't know that. And the twist became a phenomenon. Everybody twisted. There were twist contests. Jackie Kennedy was twisting. Everybody was twisting. And I used twisting as a social tool, and it was how, after school in junior high school, I'd get up on the dance floor because they used to have dances after school, and I'd ask almost always the black chicks because the white chicks just couldn't dance. They didn't have rhythm. I remember this one girl named Shirley. She and I would get on the dance floor and everybody would go, whoa, that sound. That meant he's not shy about asking a girl to dance. And we'd twist because I knew how. And in fact, I won the twist contest of PS 145 Snap. And so I became a Chubby Checker fan. And I bought a few of his records. Let's Twist Again, Twistin' Around the World. First single was Let's Twist Again, which turns out to be the only single that was ever number one twice in two separate years. Let's Twist Again was a hit in 1962, and then number one again in 1963. It was re-released. It was so big. In fact, Chubby Checker had an afternoon show on WOR and TV, twist lessons, 15 minutes long. He'd teach you every single day how to twist for 15 minutes. It was just massive. But ironically enough, it wasn't Chubby Checker that opened my eyes and ears. When I first came to America, this was prior to the Beatles and the British invasion. The first music I heard were Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Fats Domino. They were called race records. And there was a station in New York that just didn't care about any of the stuff. So you'd hear Elvis, white and black R&B records in New York. Of course, today R&B doesn't mean anything to anybody, but in those days it meant black music predominantly, rhythm and blues.
Well, let's jump into the box set, and we're going to go deep about the box set. When did the idea first come up to you? Because I know, having done interviews with you through the years, that it was something that it's been in the works a long time. Give us the whole backstory behind it.
The backstory of the GeneSimmonsVault.com box set is that a sneak behind the curtain is when Kiss records are planned. Hey, we need a record out in the next 6 months or whatever it is. Paul would write very directly, linear, for the album. And I can't do that, or I haven't been able to do that. And so I'd go off on my own and just let it happen. And I would write all kinds of material. Most of it just didn't make sense on Kiss records because my background came from British invasion, R&B, and stuff like that. And even though I loved Humble Pie and, the Stones and so on, that sort of material didn't naturally come to me, although I was riff-driven, Paul McCartney and especially Ron Wood in the Jeff Beck group. So I heard bass playing in my ears the way horn parts are played in songs, which is why my bass playing doesn't fit in rhythm and blues or even with other rock bands. And so, before I meander too long, so a new Kiss record would be ready to go, and Paul would bring in his 5 or 6 songs, and I'd bring in 20 to 25 songs, knowing full well that the majority of those tunes had no business being on Kiss records. So I wouldn't know what to do with those songs, and so I put them up in the vaults and collected them through the years, and there were many of them, hundreds of songs. And then I thought, well, why don't I put out a box set of the unreleased songs, the Gene Simmons songs that never made it onto Kiss records? Because I tried to do a little bit of that on my 1978 solo album. They were Beatlesque kinds of songs. Some are keyboard-based. I even did a cover of Pinocchio's When You Wish Upon a Star, which everybody thought, well, Gene's finally on crack. But for me, music is music. And it's interesting when you talk to Ozzy and other people, they'll mention ABBA or the Beatles or stuff that doesn't seem to be part of their DNA. And so I started to get serious about doing the vault almost 10 years ago, 9+ years ago. And the more I thought about it, the bigger it got. Putting out 15 or 20 unreleased songs just kept getting bigger and bigger. Okay, I'll do 40. Okay, I'll do 50 because I have hundreds of songs. And then I thought, well, why not do a retrospective going all the way back to 1966, the very first song I ever recorded. And by that time, record companies were in a mess. Fans were used to downloading and file sharing and paying nothing. And so initially I wanted to put out the box set by myself and just make it available to the fans direct. And then I met some like-minded crazy people, the Rhino Records folks, who were willing to do it my way, which is no record stores, no nothing, put out the largest box set of all time, and literally devote 12 months of the year to flying around the world and hand-delivering the vaults to the fans. And I don't know how to tell you this, but when I was a kid, Elvis never knocked on my front door and said, "Hey, Gene, open up, it's Elvis. Check out my new album." But that's what I'm going to do.
So was that when you were first envisioning this box set, the business model? Were you thinking about this business model back then, or was this something that evolved with how things have changed at the paradigm of the music industry?
The business model is a combination of things. The more one is creative and the other one is pragmatic. If things would have remained the same, I would have gotten a record company to take on all the risk and everything and just put it out so you could go to record stores, Walmarts, and everywhere else and just buy it off the shelf. But it would have to come down in size because it has to fit next to the others. It's like a widget. They have to fit. Albums look like this, and a CD looked like that. Everything had to fit a mold. And this box set clearly wasn't going to fit in any shape that had gone before. So, right time, right place, right thing, as record companies became less and less relevant, and I don't mean that to be critical, it just became a matter of fact, and as the internet became more and more volatile, and more songs and artists were having their stuff stolen, I started thinking about direct to the fans. I'd rather sell 100 Rolls Royces than 100 Volkswagens. It actually makes more financial sense, but it also gives you a chance to spend time with the fans and concentrate on the quality. Less is more. And that's where the idea of the GeneSimmonsVault.com box set started. Now, the reality is I'm going to be working my tail off for a year, which I never envisioned. But you know what? It's probably time to meet the fans who made my life possible and look into their eyes and meet their kids and, see the dream full cycle come true.
And there's several experiences that people can partake in. You want to talk about those?
We originally had 2 other experiences you could have. You could buy the vault at $2,000, but I would fly around the world, pay for flights, hotels, insurance, security. That would be my cost. In many cases, I'd be losing my ass on the deal because a plane trip costs a lot of money. But that's okay. I don't mind doing that, and I need to do it for myself. By the time people see this or figure this out, the second experience is gone. We had a producer experience, which means before the box set came out, and I hasten to refer to it as a box set because it just doesn't look, feel, walk, or talk like a box set, but let's call it that for now. You were able to become an executive producer on the box set for $25,000. You come into the studio with me, it's one-on-one, and you tell me what's wrong with the song order, if it goes too long or if it should be edited and stuff like that. So we had some folks who came into Electric Lady and some other places, and they spent time with them, and they came into the studio and told me exactly, I don't like this, I don't like that. We took notes and adjusted. We really did. Just like Spielberg has focus groups on his movies who tell them, I don't like that ending, you should have the alien wind up with the girl instead of the other way around.
For example, what were some of the commonalities that people were saying about the box that you were able to take to heart and adjust?
One of the great ideas was, how come you're not starting off the entire box set with Are You Ready? I went, yeah. Why didn't I think of that? And we changed the song order for that. The other thing was, I couldn't figure out whether or not the songs should be linear in terms of starting off with 1966 and going through a 50-year journey and finally winding up at the end with 2016, or whether or not there should be, that's one way, or you can mix them up like a deck of cards and have infinite number of variations. Another one would have been just do the Beatlesque melodic CDs, and then just do CDs with just harder guitar licks, do other CDs with just Kiss demos with Ace and Peter and, Paul and all that. And what wound up happening is a combination of that became a hybrid that invariably it was about the songs, and somehow they had to feel right as they moved along. And what that means is everything is emotional. Some movies begin with the end. The end you know exactly what happens, and then they flash back and you go to the beginning. Citizen Kane begins with the end after the guy's dead. What kind of a guy was he? Well, then you go back through time, which makes no sense except that it works. And then other things have flashbacks. It's linear, you start here, and then they keep going back in time. And, so there are no rules. It's all emotional. And honestly, if I didn't have my executive producer partners on it, I wouldn't have thought of it. You can't think all of it. So those are gone because the names of those executive producers are actually etched into the inside front door of the vault. That was what they got for staying with me. Nobody's ever done that. The focus groups are anonymous and nobody knows who they are. Not my people. Their names are on there.
Rock Salad TV, 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 Rock Salad TV.
Okay, kids, you want to know where, how? Go to GeneSimmonsVault.com. GeneSimmonsVault.com.